This is not yet confirmed. This is just what I want, okay? This is mostly a wish list video. None of this is actually backed up with evidence. So now that I have your attention, here's what I hope Apple does in March of 2018. So yeah, in 2017, Apple really only did 2 keynotes. Now, they were big keynotes and they had lots to announce at each, but only 2. In years before, we've had 3, sometimes 4. But the reason I think they didn't do a March keynote is just because they didn't have enough to talk about. I mean, new iPhone color, new iPad, that's about it. So I think in March of 2018, there's so much hype around so much products that have yet to come out that I think they could actually hold the press release to go more in depth about these products, to refresh people about their existence, because a lot of products like the HomePod were unveiled back in June and are still not available and are probably being delayed until around March. Usually products are not released in January and February. Again, if they are, I'm fine with it. I'll buy them. But it's most likely that Apple will go through with that launch in March, and I think that they should have a small and meaningful keynote that they could announce all this new stuff. So first of all, a whole bunch of products we already know about that need to be announced for availability. So when they always say delayed till early 2018, I always go directly to March. So this means, for one, the wireless charging AirPods case that of course goes with the far more exciting number 2, AirPower, an Apple-made wireless charger that can not charge just phones, but also your new AirPods and your Apple Watch Series 3. A primary feature that they often advertise with the iPhone X that we still do not have. In fact, we don't even know how much it's gonna cost. And if you're having a keynote, you can kind of pitch ideas as to where AirPower is going. Perhaps later in the year, if you want to make wireless charging iPads, AirPower seems like a larger than usual wireless charger, so maybe it could do that. What kind of charge brick does the AirPower ship with? Is it a USB-C attachment to the cable? And can you charge 2 to 3 iPhones at once? If not, just tell us. And also in March, they could announce more work that they're putting into on creating less transparency when it comes to down-throttling older iPhones. As they made that big apology letter recently, I think it would be appropriate to announce very, very soon in 2018 that you can now go into that battery setting on your iPhone and look at how many cycles you have left before you have to start down-throttling and how much your CPU is being down throttled. But then of course the HomePod, I hope it starts shipping in March very, very soon. They could advertise some more things they've been working on, hopefully beefing up Siri, that's my theory as to why it's delayed, and perhaps show off some of its functionality when it's paired to a second HomePod. Again, kind of as a refresher, given that we heard all about this thing over half a year ago now. So that would be a great way to start the keynote, is to just fill people in on what they've been working on and what is now available. But then after that, this becomes more in the wish list phase. I think they need to refresh the iPhone SE. Not only has it been great for catering to people who prefer a smaller 4-inch display, but also to people out there who prefer not paying top dollar for a smartphone. The iPhone SE has been a great upgrade for a lot of people who prefer not spending too much on their phones. Now, a lot of people have had wild, crazy theories for the iPhone SE. A lot of people just saying that it should be a smaller version of the iPhone X, equipped with Face ID, OLED, no home button, so all gesture control, a dual camera. But I'm trying to be a little bit realistic here. While that would be cool, and I totally would prefer if they could make just a smaller version of the iPhone X, I don't think that's what's going to happen. Apple does not have a lot invested. They don't make a ton of money off the iPhone SE, so it's not going to be a huge priority to make some kind of major flagship in March of 2017. That's just not what's going to happen. What I think could happen, though, is they give it the same treatment that the iPhone 8 got, which is to beef up the processor, beef up the cameras, perhaps give it a True Tone display, and add the wireless charging element. So now that when you buy the new iPhone SE 2, or whatever they decide to call it, it can also support the AirPower charge mat, which they'll be talking about earlier. And of course, it will work on all pre-existing Qi wireless chargers. And because the batteries in regular iPhone SEs are so small, I bet that in terms of percentage, that regular iPhone SE, when wirelessly charging, fast wirelessly charging, probably going to charge a lot faster compared to an 8 Plus, which has a much larger battery, takes longer to fill up. Give it Bluetooth 5.0, give it that A11 chip, and if not, the A10X at least. I know it's a budget phone. But I think a glass back, as Apple iDesigner has actually conceptualized on Twitter, would look really, really cool with that classic iPhone 5 look. We've seen it before, yes, it's a very old design, but a lot of people prefer that. I see your guys' comments, and a lot of people actually prefer not having a camera bump. This would be a very, very good camera that would not feature a camera bump, which is very hard to find these days. And I think on top of that, what they usually do after a keynote that took place after a major iPhone release is kind of talk about the release of the iPhone X, about how successful it's been, and I love it when they film the launch days at Apple stores and they show people lined up to buy it. And I think an excellent treat on top, given that there's only 2 iPhone 10 colors, would be to finally provide a couple more. Maybe not even one. I think the blush gold one, kind of the copper one we theorized early this year, is kind of a given. People really, really like that blush gold color on the iPhone 8, but of course it's not available on the iPhone 10. It'd be very easy to make that available as iPhone 10 shipping is going down, and usually in January and February we see a dip in sales and everything. To get people really, really excited to get a phone again, to get people looking at the iPhone 10 again, adding another color is a great way to do that. It kind of did the same thing with the iPhone 7 when they introduced the product red version. And imagining that blush gold look on a stainless steel design, making it very reflective but also super shiny, I would almost give it a different name, like call it a champagne sort of color, not necessarily blush gold anymore. But as long as you keep the black bezels, I think it would look great. And on top of that, I've actually seen a couple concepts for a product red iPhone 10 also by Apple iDesigner. Big fan of his work both on Twitter and Instagram, and product red stuff is the best way to get my attention. Pretty much the only reason I didn't get a product red iPhone 7 Plus last year was because of the white bezels on the front. That just kills it for me. I love my display blending in with the bezels, but with an iPhone 10, it seems that all of the bezels are staying black. So a product red version would look real nice, and I would go that route. And finally, back in March of 2017, we also got that 2017 iPad. So I think this year they could perhaps beef up the specs a little bit in a new, more budget-friendly version. Maybe try to keep that exact same price point at $330, perhaps go up a little bit to $350 or $400, but allow it to support the Apple Pencil. I don't even care that much about the smart connector. People can use Bluetooth keyboards. If you're on a budget, you're not really interested in spending $180 on a keyboard. But while the Apple Pencil is very expensive, it's actually not the only stylus that comes in at $100. Looking at you, Pixel Pen, come on. Right now, the iPad lineup is very confusing, given that we have these smart keyboards and Apple Pencils that only work on 2/3 of the iPads that were released. I think it'd be really, really cool to see a budget iPad that also works with this Apple Pencil. Maybe they could add that laminated display because so many people were complaining about that. And to incentivize people to buy that cheaper iPad we got last year, the 2017 version, drop that price even lower. There's already some leaks that they were working on an even more budget-friendly iPad. Could be ranging from around $280, perhaps even a little lower. Crazy amount of prices for very, very cheap iPads. And given all that I've talked about in this video, I think that there's enough content to have an actual Apple keynote. Of course, there's no rumors that they're having one. Apple might just be in the trend now of doing 2 keynotes a year. I'd be fine with it. Either way, though, we're probably going to get a pretty major website update in March that announces when the AirPods wireless version are ready, when the AirPower and the HomePod is ready. We'll get something. I would just really prefer it to be a keynote because I think there's plenty to talk about. Maybe not a 2.5 hour long one. Maybe you could just keep it to an hour or 90 minutes. But I love it when Apple does stuff like that, and I think there's plenty to follow up on, and there's plenty to launch out 2018 on a high note. Let me know all your thoughts or things you'd like to see in March of 2018 from Apple. One little bonus idea I had was a wireless charging case. So imagine a smart battery case like we have on the iPhone 7 and 6, except instead of having a lightning plug, it just Qi charges your iPhone 10. It would be bulky, yes, but I would love to use that because you don't wear the case all the time. When your phone battery gets low, you just snap it on there and then boom, it is now wirelessly charging. I would love that. All your ideas in the comments below. This is your Apple Shape here, and I will see you in the next one.